Let's take a look at form in poetry. Form is the design of a poem. So we've got closed form, also called fixed form. This follows a set design in meter and verse. Poets must follow the patterns and structure with this form. An example of this is the sonnet, which we'll see in future slides. Most of what you're going to see in the CLEP test will be closed form because it's going to follow a structure and it's going to have a design. Open form poetry, as the name holds, does not follow the rules of established poetic structures of meter and verse. There's no regular stanza structure. Sometimes they can be tricky because they may have some elements of pattern and sound or words, though. Open form is sometimes considered free verse that we saw before, but others disagree and state that there are actually some differences. So the reason I'm pointing this out because open form is completely opposite from closed form. Now at the very beginning of this section I explained that, sometimes poetry, when you look at it, it'll visually be different. Obviously we can look at a stanza and we can see that, but there's something called concrete poetry. It's also called shape poetry, but this is when a poem itself takes on a physical form. But this is, not just looking at it. It's fun to write and read it, but, this can also help the reader understand more of the poet's thinking. Here's an example of concrete poetry from Guillaume de Apollinaire's Calligrammes from 1918. So, you could just look at it and say, hey, that's the Eiffel Tower. So, right before you even start reading, you don't even have to speak French to understand this poem, well, part of it at least, because it says, it's a picture. So a lot of the time, in concrete poetry, and if you put in concrete poetry or, on the internet, you'll come up with some really cool examples. It's very popular now. There's a lot of different animals out there that people write about. But this one, you can see here, this one's from 1918, There's form poetry that goes back a long time ago to ancient times, I think. So let's take a look at this one for a sec. It's in French, but it would say, if you read it from the top down, it would say, Salut, monde dont je suis la langue éloquente, que sa bouche au Paris tire et tirera, etc. No? So you can, when you read it, you're kind of reading it down, and it opens itself up, and it becomes larger and larger, just like the base of the Eiffel Tower. So, even when in form poetry, when, you would think, oh, the main idea is to get an image here and the words don't matter. No, it's just even the way you read it also, kind of gives off an air of how it's supposed to be read. Because I could read this poem to somebody and not show them what it looks like, and it would still be a poem.